Hello, this is Adrian Jr. with Sun City Outdoors, and today we're here with my friend Christian. He makes these awesome bows. He uses them for just about anything. Makes them by hand. They're great bows, really light, and he's going to do a demonstration on how he makes them.
Friends in the field.
Alright guys, so I'm just going to demonstrate how to make a longbow from scratch if you're a beginner. Okay, here are a set of tools that you're going to need the first time around. Alright, what I personally like to use for shaping the handle is a hammer and a chisel and a handsaw. Alright, in case you don't have a bandsaw available, this is going to make the process a lot easier. Okay, so this is what we got. We got a wood plane. Alright, this is going to be the bread and butter. This is what's going to shave majority of the wood off so you can get the bend that you're looking for. Right, you can get this at Home Depot. The spoke stave, this is for the finishing touches when it comes to finding the even bend on your wood. I like to get these off eBay because they're about $5 each. And this is another form of a spoke stave. This is a file, actually scrapes away bits and pieces of wood. Same thing goes. This is for more rounding the edges off than anything. Your file, alright, this is a 3/16 inch round file. You use these for the knock ends. Alright, this is where you put the strings on the end of the bow. Okay. There's a variety of clamps that you can use to help squeeze the riser to the bow for the handle. Okay. And what I like to use the most for all my gluing process is Type Bond 2. This stuff is great. It's very tacky and it's very strong, but it's flexible. Alright. Alright, so the majority of the wood that I use for my bow making are going to be either red oak or hickory. They're both pretty cheap and easy to find. The hard part is picking out the oak that has the right grain. If you notice this one, it's got the growth rings going almost all the way down from the top to the bottom of the bow, or the stave, okay? You'll see that when there's the straighter they are, the stronger and thicker the bow is. If you look over here, you see the growth rings are really far apart, okay? The closer they are together shows that the bow is a lot younger than you would want to be able to use on a bow. So right now, this is going to be a bow that I'm going to be building for a friend. The bow is going to be 66 inches long, so this is where a yardstick comes in handy. Alright, find that point, let's say 33, because I'm going to mark that as the middle. So that's a 33-inch part. Now I'm going to go on the other end. Alright, where I marked it, look for the other 33. Alright, so next up, I want to find out how long I'm going to make the riser. The riser is the handle of the bow. I normally like to make it 8 inches. So from each side, just draw a line at the 4-inch mark. You're going to use this as a reference. This is where you start shaving over here. So everything beyond these two lines on each side is where you're going to start shaving the wood off. Okay? Alright, so now I have a piece of wood that I'm going to be using to create the handle of the bow. The lines obviously don't match up. I'm going to shave away that wood right there anyways. What I'm going to be doing now, get these lines as close as possible, get my pen, and then create an angle to where I want to cut the wood off, and let it fade into the bow. Alright, so it's like about a 45-degree angle to start. Alright, so now we have the cut that I was looking for. Next up, as far as gluing goes, you do not want to glue the two smooth surfaces of wood onto each other. They're not going to get a really good bond. What you're going to want to do next, you either want to grab a file, flathead screwdriver, a chisel, anything rough that you can scrape off the wood, and just give it a couple scrapes here and there. Really rough it up, okay? And the riser as well, same thing. Don't have to go too crazy. Alright, so now we're going to be looking for the spot that we want to start the taper on the bow. This is a 66-inch long bow, so I'm going to be starting my taper at 14 inches. So first thing, I mark it over here, get the ruler, put a line just across 14. Next up, now that I have that marked, I'm going to look for the dead center of the wood. So the wood is about an inch wide, an inch and a half, so I just look for the middle line over here. This is what we're looking at. And then I want to get about 3/4 of an inch on each side. That's where I want each taper to end. I get one of the clamps. Find out where that 14-inch spot starts. Get the clamps, start that ruler right there. Make sure you have a nice thin Sharpie available. Alright, look for that dot, and then just draw a line. So there's the first one. Second one, repeat the same thing. Now that I have the lines figured, alright, this is where a clamp comes in handy. I'm going to be doing this with a power tool to speed up the process. Secure the wood as tight as I can. And get my wood planer. This is the electronic version of this guy. Like I said, it's going to speed up the process a lot faster. I'm going to start right from the line. One thing I want to add, when you're doing a taper, you do not want to start from the same point over and over and over again. What's going to happen is the wood's going to start cutting in a way to where it's not going to be a smooth line, alright? If I cut from the same point, it's actually going to leave it almost like at a 90-degree angle, and it's going to cancel out the purpose of tapering the bow, and I lost my bow. So as this line that I drew starts to fade, that's where I start planing again. Alright, so now that we have the taper complete right where we want it to be, the tricky part right now is going to be how much wood I want to scrape off the belly. Alright, the belly is going to be this part of the bow right here. Alright, you never want to scrape wood off the front. It's always going to be right here in the belly. So, every piece of wood is different. Alright, no piece of wood is going to be stronger or weaker than the last one. They all have their own personalities, and that's where you got to figure out, alright, how much wood do I need to scrape off in order to get the weight that I want, alright? So this is where it gets to be a really slow process. For this part over here, I get my little spoke stave and I start shading off just the corners here, just to smooth it up a little bit. Alright, the goal is to round it off. Once these edges are rounded up a little bit, I get the big boy over here, alright, the regular wood plane, and scraping off. One thing you want to be careful when you're scraping off wood is when you're scraping off towards the end over here, for some reason you just tend to scrape off more wood than you did when you started over here, alright? That's just going to be the blade digging deeper into the wood. So you got to be real careful when you're going to the tips, otherwise you're going to have a really bad taper. We got a roughed out shape. It's bending in the way that I want it to right now, so I'm going to get started on the string knocks. So like I said earlier, I like to start at the 1-inch mark right here, get a line across. Same thing on the other side. So when starting the filing part, I'll start in front of the line. Just got to keep in mind this is a much thicker file. Put my nail right there in front and start shaving away. So now you see that file mark is right there on top of the line. Once it starts getting deeper, I start angling the file down. That way it starts going evenly across the tip of the bow. Notice that the knock file doesn't go all the way around, okay? You don't need to do that, it's going to weaken the wood. You just want it to be to where it has a nice smooth surface for the string to sit on, that way it doesn't put extra tension on the string for it to wither away over time. Then you repeat the exact same process. Already did this one, all right? Now you're ready to put a string on. All right, so I'm about to string this on the bow for the first time. One tip that you want to keep in mind before you put the string on and start bending it, the back of the bow, meaning your front, the one pointing outside, give the edges a light sanding, all right? Because any exposed splinter will obviously expand during pressure, all right, and will cause the bow to snap. One in every 4 bows, they snap. It's gonna happen. Especially if you're starting out, don't be afraid, don't let it bring you down. You're gonna have bows break on your face. It's gonna happen no matter what, all right? Give from top to bottom, try to round off the edges just a little bit, all right? Right before you start bending the bow. All right, so now that I have the thickness about where I want it to be, I'm gonna put the string on the bow. All right, so the bottom loop, just cinch it on there. See how it wraps around and locks in real nice? What I'm gonna be doing, make sure I can tighten the string up a little bit. I use one string for all my bows. I put my right leg over and lay the handle area right behind my thigh, okay? And I put the bottom of the tip right here in front of my toe. So right now, I'm going to be pushing with my right hand out and pushing with my butt this way, okay? Make sure you have good tension. Bend it, and here we go. Okay. So this is where it starts getting tricky, alright? I need to lay down the bow and find out what areas still need to be shaved away. Okay. So if you look to your right, you'll see that the bottom is just a little bit stiffer than the left. That's okay, because I already marked it as the bottom limb. The bottom limb works a lot harder than the top limb because you end up pulling that part of the bow with more fingers, thus making it go a longer distance than the top limb. So as far as pulling, just give a couple practice pulls. I don't hear any clicks or anything. So now what I'm going to do next, I'm going to take off the string, tighten it up a little bit, and see what this bow looks like at full brace height, okay? Alright, so right now I'm twisting up this string so I can get this bow in a full brace height, see how much more scraping I need to do, alright? So, this part's always scary because, like I said, every bow is different. It's going to actually blow up on me if it wanted to. So, you want to make sure the string is 4 inches shorter than the actual bow length. So this is a 66-inch bow, so I'm using a 62-inch string for the stringing process. So as you can see, the top limb is bending a lot more than the bottom, alright? Like I said earlier, the bottom can be a little bit more stiffer, but this is actually a bit drastic, so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to grab my Sharpie and scribble the area that I want to shave away. So it looks like the whole bottom limb is just entirely stiffer, all right? So I'm just gonna shave the entire thing. These are where the scribbles come in. The thicker the scribbles mean the more wood that I want to shave away, okay? So these marks are the areas that I want to scrape wood off of because the wood isn't bending the way that I want it to, all right? One side bends a little bit more than the other, and it's overall bending unevenly because I just finished scraping it. Be really careful when using a sander. If you put the wood on one area for too much time, you're going to shave a huge chunk of wood off and you're going to mess up the bow. So my goal is to scrape off these lines, alright? In a just smooth motion. So I still have some lines there, so I'm going to keep shaving it away. Alright, so now we're ready to glue the handle onto the bow. I'm going to add a thin piece of red oak to the riser area just to give it some extra thickness so I can sculpt the handle out a little bit more. So first things first, I'm gonna do a little zigzag line over here. Try to get any gaps you can. Now you get your clamps. All right. So while this glue sits, it's going to take about 6 hours. Let's say 8, just to be safe for it to cure. When it comes to the handle, you can be really creative. You can shape it however you want. You can have a straight grip, you can have a pistol grip, you can have a no grip even. You can just use the bow itself. So that's where you get to play around and, you know, find what's best for you. Fast forwarding a little bit, this is the bow that I recently completed. Okay, after the shaping and the handle part comes the final sanding, so you get a nice smooth surface on the bow. And then you can stain it with whatever varnish you want, whatever seals the wood. You want to make this wood waterproof, alright? So once a bow is said and done, I want to test fire it 150 to 100 times before I ship it off to the person that bought it. I want to make sure the bow doesn't blow up in their face. As you can see, it doesn't have a string knock. I'm not really aiming for accuracy, consistency. I'm just trying to see if this bow will shoot without exploding first. So let's just take a couple practice shots. Find that sweet spot.
This bow works pretty good. About 20 yards each shot.
Alright, you want to give it a shot? One thing I might add, since we're in Vegas, there's not much to hunt out here, so one thing I really like to do is go bow fishing. This is my own personal rig that I made from scratch, and I also sell them as well. If this is something you might be interested, just don't be afraid to shoot me an email. One more thing before we wrap it up, I also want to add that I'm a professional fighter, okay? I do this on the side to help pay for funds as far as training goes. I have a fight next month in Hollywood, California for Combate Americas. It will be live on NBC Universal and also UFC Fight Pass. So stay tuned, guys. I'm gonna make a name for myself.
So I just watched Christian make this bow out of a board from Home Depot. It's pretty amazing how he does it. So if you guys remember, his links below if you want to contact him about buying one of these. They're amazing. They're extremely light. So thanks for showing us how to make one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you outdoors.